The Bristol Board of Education. Maintaining a safe and secure learning environment for all students.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is September 12th, 2018. Welcome to our board meeting. Would you all please rise for our national anthem, which will be delivered by Cody Goodenberg.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
If you'll remain standing, please, we'll do the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Cody, thank you for coming and sharing your gift with us.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure to be here.
Before we approve our minutes, tonight we're going to memorialize a benchmark for one of our board members. We had a board member who joined us when he was 18 years old, and this past week he reached the age of majority. So we'd like to recognize Joe. Since it's past his birthday, we don't want to embarrass him and sing his happy birthday, but we do want to recognize him reaching the age of majority. So welcome, Joe. Now you're an adult. And you have responsibilities there too.
Thanks. Like the barbell time?
The youngest Board of Education person ever to be elected in Connecticut.
Okay, we will move on to our committee reports. Oh. We won't move on to our committee reports. We're going to go to, we have a moment of silence for two former educators in the district. First one is Gordon Losey, who was a teacher at Bristol Central from 1958 to 1964, and Elizabeth Parada, who was a teacher at Jennings from 1971 to 1992. So please share with me a moment of silence. Thank you. Now we will have the approval of the minutes. The minutes were sent to you in the package earlier this week, so I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
Move to accept.
And we have a second.
Second.
Any changes or additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, I believe you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. Motion carries. We'll now move on to committee reports. The first committee report, although we didn't have a Student Achievement Committee, Commissioner Dubey would like to provide a report. So, Commissioner Dubey.
So just a reminder that we are going to be having showcases on Wednesday, September 26th from 6:30 to 8:30. The K-8 schools and the elementary schools are going to be giving their showcase. And Thursday, September 27th, same time, 6:30 to 8:30. The middle schools and the high schools will be giving their showcases. Thank you.
And those will be here?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
What are the dates again, quickly?
It is Wednesday, the 26th, and Thursday, the 27th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next committee report would be operations. Commissioner Humphrey, provide that report?
Thank you, Chairman Wilson. The Operations Committee met on August 21st. There were no decision items on the agenda, but we had a discussion about shared services with IT. There's no folks moving from City Hall to Board of Ed or vice versa like there is with the benefits people, but our own Rob Puzio, Mike Whitty Meredith at the city, and Scott Smith are all working together to find any savings that they can. Shared services meaning using the same software so that we can have economies of scale and getting items onto the capital improvement plan. So far, they're off to a great start. We look forward to many more benefits from the partnership.
Okay, thank you. And we will now move on to Finance. Commissioner Bibber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met last night. We had a brief yet very productive meeting. As you know, we are still at the early stages of this school year, this fiscal year. So there's really not that much to report. We are in good shape. I think most of what needs to be encumbered has been encumbered. We had a lot of that done last night, and I'm assuming more was done today. There's not much to report on the food services as well, because we need to wait until some money comes in from the government for that. We did discuss a couple of things. As last year, administration really buckled down and found ways to save money and did a great job. This year, I've asked that we start looking at other things, current situations, and what we can do better. For instance, one of the things that we're going to look at is overtime. We have overtime that is absolutely necessary, but it's not going to hurt us to go over things like that, just to make sure that our policies are set and our procedures are set in that type of situation. We also asked, and Dr. Moreau agreed, that on the hiring report, we're trying very hard when we're hiring to bring people in at a lower step in an effort to save money. Though we do not have a set policy, because there are often times where we can't say it has to be a step 3 or under. Administration has done a great job over the summer of hiring at low steps. But there are shortage areas, and there are times when we have to hire at a higher step. So Dr. Moreau or Dr. Galloway, they're putting in the hiring report now. If there is somebody hired at a higher step, the reason for that, such as a shortage area. There's not, like I said, there's not much to report. If Jill or Dave, if you want to add something, please feel free. I just gave an overview. Are we good? Okay, so if anybody has any questions, thank you very much.
Okay, if there's no questions, we'll move on to our student representative report. This is the first time that these representatives have met with us, so we welcome you to the Board of Education meeting. We have from Bristol Central, we have Abby, Grant, Christy, who will be speaking at the podium in a short while, Catherine Funk, who is also going to be representing Bristol Central, was not able to be here this evening, and then we also have Logan Zadun and Lori Chen representing Bristol Eastern, and we'll be hearing from them first. So have you guys drawn the straws and decided who's going first?
Go first.
Okay, so Logan is going first, I heard him say.
Good evening, Dr. Moreau, Dr. Carbone, Dr. Galloway, and Commissioners. As we begin the new school year, there have been changes that have greatly impacted our school, and they definitely have been for the better. One of those changes is advisory homeroom. We would usually meet for advisory once a month, but now it's combined with homeroom. This is a better way to preserve our learning time in the classroom while still maintaining a relationship with our advisor. who can guide students throughout their high school careers. It also allows for students to get important notices to bring home daily, so parents and students can stay up to date on new policies or events. In addition, the new cell phone policy helps to cut down on distractions. When students are at school, they should be learning and better educating themselves. But with the cell phone, their only concern is the next hot gossip. When students put their phone in a pouch at the front of their class, away from the vicinity, it allows for them to become engaged with the subject. Personally, I know I can be addicted to my phone at times, and this policy helps to give students a break from their addiction quite a few hours each day. Also, as we all know, texting and walking might not be the best thing to do, unless it's extremely urgent. So for students not to be allowed to text and walk is a great way for them to start paying attention to all of their surroundings, and it may lead to less backups in the hallways during passing time. One student who will remain anonymous agrees with the policy. The student stated, "I would just like to say that this phone policy is really good. I like it very much. It helps me focus on school and not my phone and get work done. Not many kids are fond of this policy, but I sure do like it, so thank you." The last new policy involves bathrooms. I used to remember feeling uncomfortable when there was a group of students in the bathroom messing around and not doing what they were supposed to be doing. Since adding a bathroom monitor and sign-out sheets, the problem has been pretty much resolved. When I first went into the bathroom this year, I felt much more comfortable without a group of boys just standing in there and messing around. It was very smart to crack down on the people who may be disrespectful to school property and conduct codes, which will help save money and cleanup time for janitors who have to clean up after those immature students. To conclude, I feel all three of these policies are a very strong approach to help create a better learning space for students. Without them, there would still be distractions and/or disrespect to the policies that Bristol Public Schools enforces. Even though some students may not like these policies, they don't understand that these policies are meant to help them, and at the same time create a safe learning environment with no distractions. But in the long run, they will. And even then, time still flies at school when you're engaged with the subject you're learning about and not worrying about the policies meant to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Abby Grant Christie, and I'm the student liaison for Bristol Central High School, and I'm very honored to be speaking during tonight's meeting. The school year not only started off wonderfully, but with an early rise on Thursday, August 30th, the first day of school. Many dedicated students awoke from their comfy beds to get to school by 5 o'clock in the morning to share their amazing Bristol Central spirit for the WFSB News Channel. Now, that's dedication. Students from activities around the school came together to show Connecticut what our RAM family is all about. Members of sports teams such as cross country, football, cheerleading, volleyball, members of the band and color guard, as well as our ambassadors, principals, teachers, and coaches, and other excitable students all came together to join the celebration. It was such a joyful and exciting morning and an amazing way to start off the school year. Before the first day of school, our senior ambassadors dedicated their final days of summer for training days for the incoming freshmen for their freshman orientation to ensure their comfort and confidence. The day of freshman orientation was an exciting day for everyone, especially the seniors, as we got to help our new members of the RAM family become accustomed to an unfamiliar environment and to alleviate their worries and fears about the school year. It was wonderful to see returning as well as incoming students on the first day of school looking comfortable and secure as they walked down the hallways. The seniors are very excited about their last months at Central, as well as worried about leaving a home where we have grown so much. The freshmen seem to be joyous about leaving their middle schools and exploring their newfound freedoms and responsibilities. The sophomores and juniors are becoming more accustomed to the increasingly difficult classes, as well as the responsibilities of becoming young adults. So far, most students are enthusiastic about the school year. One of the things that was hindering their energy was the dreaded new phone policy. However, once the policy was implemented, it seemed to be very effortless for students to put away their phones and to focus on their schoolwork without distractions. Based on feedback, some students have even claimed to not be bothered by the policy at all or to not have noticed their phones were not with them. For me, I sometimes forget to retrieve my phone at the end of class. I've come to realize the enjoyment of speaking with peers and adults without the hindrance of my cell phone. We look forward to the continued benefits with the new phone policy this year. As a member of the band and color guard, it is such a thrilled moment to march in parades and football games and share the excitement with the crowd. However, one event that is dreaded is the distance the band has to march during the parades in the September heat. This month is the upcoming Month Parade. 2 years ago, the parade had been 2.5 miles long. Last year, the parade had been extended to 2.7 miles, and the weather was above 80 degrees. The weather made marching very uncomfortable because of the long, thick black uniforms the band has to wear, along with the black gloves, hats, and long black socks. Our band director, Mr. Bushewitz, allowed us to march without our hats and gloves to spare us of any extra agony. Concerned with the heat and safety of the students, Mr. A and another band director addressed the parade committee to inform them of the lengthy distance that we had to march, especially the streets that were devoid of spectators. The committee had promised our band director they would shorten the length of the parade. However, this year, we were informed that the parade was only decreased to a disappointing 2.4 miles. That is still too long. Just think back to yesterday's heat wave and the early dismissal which had to be implemented, which was like a few weeks ago before. Marching such a parade in our attire while playing into instruments with little hydration is a serious safety hazard and should be addressed. We would greatly appreciate the parade route being less than 2 miles, especially the routes vacant of spectators. In conclusion, I am very excited for the continuous school year. Thank you for your time and have a great evening.
Out of curiosity, does the band go to other towns, and are those parades typically less than 2 miles?
Right now, it's going to just in Bristol. Before, it used to be Forestville, that was way too long, so they shortened it. But now we're like going around just like
Okay.
Bristol.
Thank you.
I think Eastern used to go to New Haven. No? You don't, neither of you were in the, okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, Dr. Moreau, Dr. Carbone, Dr. Galloway, and commissioners. My name is Lori Chen. I'm here to inform you all the great event at Bristol Eastern. Our freshman orientation had a different format this year. The installation is a group of juniors and seniors that are currently enrolled at Eastern who had dedicated their time to help our incoming students. Orientation started at 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. First, the 9th grader and their mentors met in the gym and had a fun team building activity. Incoming freshmen had the opportunity to tour the school with their Lands Relation mentor in a small group. Their mentor gave them advice about how to succeed at Eastern and throughout their education. This including things like being on time for classes and participate in school activities. We want to make the new school year exciting and memorable for the freshmen. We created a freshman t-shirt with the slogan Mission Possible Class of 2022. For lunch, our principal and vice principal, Ms. Cabby Roger, Ms. Gomes, and Mr. Hagan did a cookout in the yard for the freshmen. They also spent the afternoon meeting with their team teachers. The freshman orientation turned out very well, and they had the opportunity to get to know some friends even before school started. What we also started this year and are proud of is the Lands Relation members providing tours for the new registration, primarily the week before school starts. To share school spirits, some student council members also volunteered to conduct tours. Another policy that Eastern had changed this year is the traffic flow in the morning. Beginning on September 5th, only school buses will be allowed to enter the lanes closest to the building during 6:45 to approximately 7:30 a.m. to drop off students. All other traffic must flow to the outside lane within the school parking lot. I remember my friends talking to me about how they had to wait to be dropped off because the cars were blocking the school bus drop location, as well as concerns about how they had to walk between cars. The enforced drop-off makes it safer for all of us. I'm so excited for all the changes that we had made this year to ensure the safety of students and faculties, as well as creating a distraction-free learning environment. All of these changes help to improve our school climate. We hope to see more changes in our school and better help our schools. Thank you.
Students, I would like to invite you to any of our committee meetings that you're able to attend. I know you're all busy students, so our committee meetings may not align with when you're available, but student voice is something that's talked about more and more in public education today, and your voice is very important and would really inform us, so we would really like to hear from you. We love hearing from you at this meeting, but also at committee meetings as well, so you're welcome to attend. Okay. Now it's time for my report, and first thing I want to talk about is the Business Education Foundation. For those of you who don't know, we've had a business education foundation in Bristol for probably 30 years. I see Dave Pileski sitting across from me, and he probably can give me the exact date, or Peter Kelly, who is also on the committee, or Sarah Mitchell, who's also on the committee, or the foundation. But I think Bob Messier was one of the founders way back when we started the foundation. And the foundation signature fundraiser at that time was they would go to sell tickets and go to the Palace and see an event. And then over time that event ended, and then we would send out just a mass mailer solicitation asking people to support the foundation. And the group of us that do meet is deciding that we needed a signature event. We seen a signature fundraising event. So we thought about having a golf tournament, and we thought about an art show, and we talked about things back and forth, and then we heard about another school district that did a trivia night. So last year, you'll recall, we dipped our toes in the spring and had our first trivia night. It was a very good success, and so some of the people that participated said they wanted to do it again, and they said, let's try it in the fall instead of the spring. So that's why we're back to you today to talk about that. The event is going to be October 19th at 6 p.m. Tickets are $35, and you can have teams of 6. But we need your help more than just participating, and we do want you to participate. We want you to get teams together and compete with one another and find all the people that have that information that would be helpful on your team trivia. I'm probably not one of those people, so don't ask me.
You're already on the team.
It's the 19th?
29th.
29th, okay. All right, I apologize. No,
No,
it's the 19th. Okay, thank you.
yeah, the agenda's wrong. It's
It's a Friday night, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the 19th, yes. Okay. So,
You show up on the 29th.
Mr. Chair, you're on the team.
all right. Yeah, just make sure you get your team. But we need your help in another way as well. For a fundraiser like this to be really successful, we need to get sponsorships. So you need to contact everybody that you know in business or otherwise to ask them to be a sponsor. A sponsor can be something as low as a $50 sponsorship or as great as a $1,000 sponsorship. So we've already gotten a few sponsorships in, but we need a lot more. So if you have any connections to any businesses, and talk to them about how great the foundation is. For those of you who don't know how great the foundation is, we have done a lot of phenomenal things. I think the statistic I've seen most recently is over the years of our involvement, we've given over $400,000 worth of value to the school system in Bristol. We have done smart boards at some of the schools. We've done digital printers. We've helped support the WOW Mobile, which provides reading materials for students all throughout the summer so we don't lose that brain drain. And I'm sure I'm forgetting...
Mini grants.
Mini grants, the mini grants. And that's sort of our signature event is our mini grant. And we give away between $15,000 and $20,000 a year for these grants. And I look at these grants as sort of the incubation of ideas and innovation that often we test them, a teacher or two will test them, they'll collaborate together. And if it becomes a really good idea, we deploy it all across the school district. So I don't think we can really measure, the great breadth of these mini grant programs. So I hope everybody that's listening at home, all of you in the audience, and all your extended influence, you will go out and talk to people about, soliciting support for this event. It's a really worthwhile event.
Mr. Chair, where do we get the information for the sponsors? Who do we send it to?
You see Sarah Mitchell sitting in the audience, raising her hand. You could talk to Peter Kelly, who is also on our dais, or Dave Pileski in the audience, or see me. But mostly, Sarah is really the person that's really behind this project. So see Sarah. So, Sarah, did I miss anything? I hope. No. I didn't really read my notes, so I don't know if I caught everything, but I tried to. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the CABE CAPS convention. And I know our members signed up because I received a report that 5 of the members of our commissioners and superintendent are signed up for the CABE convention. Since I am on the CABE convention committee, I want to inform you that, and I think I mentioned to it last month, but we have Dr. Brackett coming The superintendent attended one of his sessions on the back-to-school event that all the superintendents attended. Everybody that I know went to that session, says it was a phenomenal session. He's a great, entertaining speaker. I think you'll really be pleased with what he's doing. His big thing is social emotional learning, and he's created this acronym RULER, which he uses to give us guidance on how we get people engaged and stay engaged in education. And from everything I heard, he's working with 1,500 school districts across the nation and also outside the country. And so his work is really informing how we do teaching and student achievement in our district. So I think we'll all be excited to hear from him. And we also are going to have a student panel on Saturday, so I hope our students are able to attend. If you can start putting it on your calendar, I think our students in the past have gotten a lot of benefit out of that. So I hope you'll be able to attend. I just left a session with the Commissioner of Education talking about, and it was kind of interesting, the conversation that we were having. The state board met with the K board of directors this evening before this meeting, and we were talking about equity and excellence in education, and talked about how they developed their 5-year plan that they're required to develop. But it really aligns so much with what we're doing with our planning committee that we have set up to talk about equity and excellence. It's really, we have taken what the state did, which the state went out and talked to their stakeholders and said, how do we deliver education in an equitable and excellent manner? And that's really what our committee is going to be discussing as well, and really engaging with stakeholders. So I think we have a real excitement on that project. And then finally, I wanted to talk about the Memorial Boulevard Intra-District Arts Magnet School, and that's a mouthful. But this last meeting that we had, we picked an architect, and the architect is Quisenberry, Arcari, and Malik, otherwise known as QUAM. And what the committee did is they interviewed, first of all, we got submissions from about 8 to 10 architects who were interested in the Memorial Boulevard project. We wheedled it down to 4 highly qualified architects, and then the committee interviewed the 4 architects and picked QUAM. It felt like they had the best value proposition, both pricing and quality engineering and design expertise. We thought that they brought the best consultants to the job. This is going to be a very unique project. It's a renovation of a school, and it's because of the theater and the arts. It's a really unique project. We thought QUAM had the expertise to do that. In a meeting tomorrow evening, the committee is going to be looking at a construction manager as constructor and a program manager. Those are 2 positions that we will be having on this project. And so the committee is going to be looking at the scope of services each of those 2 positions will provide, and then we will be hopefully picking one, if not tomorrow night, and then in a subsequent meeting. So the committee is starting to get going, starting to get rolling, and it's very important work, and we'll try to keep you abreast as it goes on. And again, Dave Pileski serves on that committee, who is in the room. And Cheryl Assisi also serves on this committee. She's not here this evening, but Cheryl is pretty much at almost all of our board member meetings, so she's very familiar too. So we're looking forward to getting the progress moving for the Memorial Boulevard project. And that concludes my report, and we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. I'd like to begin by introducing our new Dean of Students at Chippens Hill Middle School. You appointed her last month, but she wasn't present at the meeting. Christy Richardone is a familiar face at Chippens. She has been in the goal room teaching our students for quite a number of years and is going to be a wonderful asset to the administrative team up there. So welcome, Christy.
Welcome.
So, as you know, our school year began for our certified staff on the 27th of August with convocation at Bristol Central. This year, our staff were able to sit on refurbished seats in the auditorium courtesy of the Farmers Insurance Grant that Gina Gallo-Reinhardt received
And many of you may have contributed to that via sending emails every single day for a very long period of time, but it paid off in a school that is much smaller than schools that are all across the country that are twice or 3 times the size, who did not win that money. And it's a testament to Gina's amazing charisma in talking everybody into making sure that they did that. And she just actually won another $2,500 grant from farmers under the same process, and now we'll be applying for another $100,000 grant. It's pretty amazing to look in there now and see all of those seats looking spectacular. So for those of you who are unable to attend our convocation, I want to take you through a brief presentation with some of the highlights of the event. So we started with this slide to let our staff know as they entered, and they entered by schools, and they sat together as schools. Many of them wore t-shirts that were logos of their school, and really want them to know how important they are to what we do. They're the heart of what we do. They're the talent of what we do. So our theme this year was Stories in the Making. Last year was What's Your Story? And we had a feature with Gail Dickow and Adrian Morjanarski showing what a difference a teacher made in the life and the story of a single student. And so this year we wanted to expand upon that. So we then had a student, Christian Stafford, who I believe was here last year singing the national anthem. Amazing voice. Students are the heart of what we do. And so we kicked off with the student singing to us and with us. Pretty amazing. And he and his mom actually stayed for the whole convocation, which was not expected, but they really enjoyed listening. Next we had our mayor, Sambo Sasu, who came and brought greetings from the city, added a little humor to the group. Her youngest son is a senior this year, and she's looking forward to him graduating. And I'm sure that Bristol Eastern administrators will make sure that that happens. Chairman Wilson gave a fine gesture and welcome to the group as well. And then we had our Teacher of the Year, Mike Reynolds. And if you weren't there, and I wish we had videotaped it, and his parents were there, which was so lovely, and his mom's camera ran out of memory, so she only got part of it. He came in, slumped over the podium, and then went to the side and came back with an amount of energy, high-fiving everyone up and down the aisles that had everyone's heart racing. It was a true testament to why he was named our Teacher of the Year. He's a 6th grade teacher at Chippens Hill Middle School. He was formerly a teacher, 5th grade teacher at Southside School for, I believe, 18 years before moving on to Chippens. And his enthusiasm was totally amazing and really made you understand why he became an educator and how important it is, if you teach middle school, to have that level of energy so that you can keep up with the students at that level who have a lot of energy as well. Then I got to talk about our goals, and I had shared those with you. We focus on inspiring and cultivating talent. We invite our community to engage with us and build partnerships. We work to improve organizational and operational effectiveness, and we are learner-focused. I also focused, and there were actually individual slides with every single teacher or administrator who received a grant last year, a competitive grant. And when I totaled them up, $252,624. And some of those are the mini grants that are given by the Business Education Foundation. Others donors choose. Others just random grants that our teachers see and apply for and receive. That makes a huge difference for our kids. And we have this opportunity, which I presented last, in that every high school teacher in the district has the opportunity to get $300 in classroom materials through Donors Choose, which can be funded by the Dalio Foundation. They have to put their request in by September 25th. That means a potential another $54,000 for teachers in the district. And I believe Gina Gallo-Reinhardt, our grant writer, gave a workshop for central teachers yesterday to make sure that they all put their grants in and make sure that every single person, and that there are 90 some odd staff members in each one of those buildings who can apply for the $300. And then we had someone who could talk about how the story continues. And Joe Grabowski really gave an amazing, inspiring conversation on what it meant to be a student in the Bristol schools. And he gave shout outs to teachers that he had that really made all of us get goosebumps, because it's not often that teachers get the kind of thank yous, including one to Jeff Fleischman, which is why he's sitting here. And he said, he told me once I should go to a city meeting, and then he told me twice. And if he hadn't told me the third time, I might not be here sitting on the Board of Ed. I mean, how much more awesome does it get about the power of a teacher on the life of a student? And he studies to be a social studies teacher, and Mr. Fleischman is a social studies teacher, and he shouted out to his other social studies teachers, and really was totally inspirational to our staff. So we thank you again for that. We then had LaTanya Farrell and Kelly McCabe. He is on the guitar, she's with the microphone singing the song Unwritten, tied into our theme of The Story Continues. Was incredibly moving. The words are really inspirational, and LaTanya never lets us down with how wonderful her voice is and how giving she is of her talent to us. Then I put up a couple of quotes there, and actually the first, engaging instruction makes students feel hopeful and interested. Positive relationships make students feel accepted and connected, is from Dr. Mark Brackett, who is the head of the Yale Center for Emotional Learning, who will be the keynote speaker at the CAPE convention. And I was wowed by his energy and also how important the words he shared were in the work that we do. And then Maya Angelou, who is another favorite of mine, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that's really what our convocation was about this year. And so finally, Stories in the Making. Today is where our book begins. The rest is still unwritten. So despite the heat, which you heard about already, we had an exciting opening day. Our leadership team fanned out and stepped into every one of the 12 schools and additional programs back and Bristol Prep, and greeted our students. And traditionally we stick our heads in and say happy first day, making sure that we stopped in to new teachers' classrooms as well. And an interesting thing that came out in our conversation after was that when we went into new teachers' classrooms, most of them didn't even stop teaching because they're still used to having a lot of adults coming in and watching them. So that's awesome that you can walk in and they don't shudder at all over it. Real thanks go out to our school secretaries for organizing materials so the teachers could start the year with those in place, to our custodial staff who had our buildings and grounds sparkling, to our teachers and administrator for engaging even the youngest preschool child on their first day, to the 6th grader on their first day of middle school, and to our high school freshmen. That was very interesting. I went to Eastern and I was standing there and a student came shaking hands with a schedule in her hands and wanted to know where a room number was. And I was really grateful at that moment that I had done my administrative internship years ago at Eastern, because I knew where to send her to go, because I would have been really embarrassed if I sent her in the wrong direction. So it was pretty exciting. So on opening day, we had new sneakers, backpacks, school supplies, and they were put to use right away. And I really want to thank everyone in our community who was so generous in providing these things to students who may not have had them otherwise. the Mayor's Pencil Hunt, the United Way, Adopt a Child, and to our teachers, who themselves make sure that every child in their classroom has what they need to feel the same as other kids on the first day, and has their little pencil box and their name right in front of their desk, or whatever it is at any level. It might be a notebook, it might be a pen, but something where someone doesn't feel like they haven't been included in the process. And finally, I'd like to recognize Dr. Galloway, and he doesn't like being recognized, for being the co-founder of the new Black Leaders Association of Connecticut. The group's going to have their first meeting on Saturday morning. That in itself, Saturday morning, is pretty impressive. And if you want to read more about it, it's on the front page of the September CABE Journal. Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is your consent agenda, item 7. Does anybody wish to pull anything out of the consent agenda? Does anybody wish to pull anything out of the consent agenda? If not, I think you're ready to vote. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, item 7 on. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Second. Motion been properly made and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comment? The public is welcome to comment on any items on the agenda or not on the agenda. And if when we get to deliberated items you wish to comment on one of those items, just get my attention and I will give you the podium to speak. Our first, on item 9, we're going to move to deliberated items and leadership team reports. Our first item is 9-1, new teacher hiring overview, and I imagine that's Dr. Galloway. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. I have our annual hiring report to speak with you about. 32 new hires. The breakdown is 11 males, 21 females. You'd be happy to see that 11 of the 32 new teachers are from Bristol. And it's pretty amazing that when I went recruiting this year at UConn or wherever I was, you can put money on the folks from Bristol made it to that table. They let me know if they were a Lancer or a Ram. So we would have a lot of fun with our conversations. You know, I would ask questions like, you know, can you actually, if you're a Ram, can you actually go into Bristol Eastern? Or if you got hired, could you actually work there? But each person from Bristol expressed how proud that they were to come from Bristol. So that's very interesting when you're miles away from here and people are out finding their way in life and show appreciation for the education that they got here. So I'll move right along and I'll just state on the next page, everyone is very aware of what step people will get hired at. My office is keyed up. Dr. Moreau, Dr. Carbone are all keyed up and scrutinize teaching experience versus shortage areas. So what you'll see on this report is a breakdown of the people who are hired and the variability in regard to the steps. It is directly related to them being shortage areas. So if you look, you'll see like speech and language, TESOL. So if you have relatives who are going into the field, that's excluding you, Commissioner, because I'm sure you're going to be all set. If they get certified in a shortage area, we are fighting for these people. When I go to the recruitment fairs, I'm secretly trying to steer people away from other towns because it's so hard to fill some of these jobs. And that's where the variability comes in. When you might see some folks at Masters 4, Masters 7. There's one person here who was actually riffed from our district and was allowed to come back because there was a vacancy, came in at a higher level. So those are some of the things that you'll see on that report. So I don't want to belabor it. Do you have any questions at this point in time? Yes,
I do. You probably know what my question is.
I do.
He knows.
Yeah, I do. I could hear it, right? So out of the 32, there were 4 teachers of color hired this year. And I'll say that being a member of the Minority Teacher Recruiting Council at the state level, that Bristol has a seat at the table in regard to being a welcoming and open district to teacher candidates and administrators. So the welcome mat is there, but we all know, when you get across the table, you have to do your thing and make it to the next level. But I do think it's important when you look statewide, we are at the table, Windsor is at the table, Hartford, West Hartford is at the table, South Windsor is at the table, and we are there. And I don't miss a meeting. Any other questions?
I want to, before we go on, I do want to thank you because I know you've worked very hard to get a diverse staff employed along with our administrators over here. And I know that it's difficult. I know there is a shortage there, but I also know how important it is for our students to be able to look at the staff, look at the administrators, the teachers, and say, if he can do it, if she can do it, so can I. So I'm very thankful for all the hard work that all of you do in that regard.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions? Here, yes, sir.
Very much.
Hearing none, thank you.
Next item is item 10, which are our policy revisions. And
That is I.
that was you.
As you know, we vet our policies at the policy committee, and then we bring them to the full board for approval. The first policy, 3520.13, student data privacy. This is a change based on new statutes related to student privacy, where we need to list contracts on our website and how the company is making sure that our student data remains private. Google, for example, and we use a lot of the Google platform, had to write a specific contract for the state of Connecticut only to meet these requirements. And I would certainly recommend approval.
Move to accept policy 3520.13.
Second. We have a second properly. Any questions or comments?
I just do have one quick question for the chair. Was Commissioner Giantonio, I know this is a specialty area for us, so she is involved.
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Thanks.
And we should notice that this is a state statute, so it wasn't like we had a lot of latitude here. The state passed the legislation that required us to change our privacy policy. And that is part of the vetting that goes on in the committee.
Commissioner Giantonio provided a lot of expertise in that area and was able to really inform the committee as well.
Great, thanks.
Policy.
We haven't voted. We haven't voted yet. Okay. I think you're ready to vote now, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Policy 5144.4. This is a new policy to the manual as well, physical exercise and discipline of students. Most of this language was previously contained in the wellness policy, but it was broken out to reiterate the fact that our kids need to have physical activity every day. They need to be out at recess, and that recess should not be taken away as a punishment on a regular basis. However, arrangements can be made to do it on occasion, but parents have to be notified. And so I would recommend approval.
Move to accept policy 5144.4.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any questions or comments on the motion? If not, I think you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Policy 6114, emergency and disaster preparedness. This is a revision to fall into line with the procedures that we now have in place. And I recommend approval.
Move to accept policy 6114.
Second.
We have a second. Some motion has been properly made and seconded. Is there any questions or comments? If not, I think you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Policy 6145.6, travel and exchange programs. We needed to clarify our policy to make sure that it was understood that if students came over through an exchange program, different than the ones that our students exchange with our school, going to another country and then those students coming here, that the student would be charged tuition if they wanted to enroll in our schools. And we had an incident where somebody did want to enroll, and it's happened a couple of times. And since the policy wasn't clear, it now is. And I recommend approval.
Move to accept policy 6145.6.
We have a second. Motion's been properly made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? If not, I think you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And policy 6172, this is a new policy that talks about alternative educational programs, both our alternative high school program as well as programs for students who are expelled. And so I recommend approval.
Move to accept policy 6172.
Second.
And we have motion's been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? If not, I believe you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I don't want to make this a commercial for CABE, but when we vet these policies, we just don't create these policies on our own. Often what happens is the state will change a legislation which will cause us to have to change our policy. So then CABE provides us some guidance. They give us sample policies that other districts have used. Sometimes they're policies that have gotten some legal opinion behind them, and so then that's what gets vetted into committee, and that's what we discuss and then vote on. So just so the public and you all know. Our next item of business is old business. I believe we have no old business. The next item is new business. I don't believe we have any new business. The next item of the business is information. I'll start with my far left. Is Jen, do you have any new information? Joe? Karen?
I just have a quick question that I did not want to interrupt you on your chairman's report, but I guess it is kind of information here too. Did we put together the committee on the equity diversity?
It is not. There was some vacations between Dr. Moreau and myself.
That's okay.
So we
I
have
just know that I was slotted for one of those. I hadn't heard anything.
Yep.
Right,
So I wanted to
we're
make sure.
working on getting together. I put out something to administrators asking if they would like to be on the planning committee.
Good. Thank you. That's it. No other information.
And liaison reports, if you serve on any liaison committees and you wish to provide any reports, this would be the time to do that. Councilman Kelly, would you like to have anything to say? Everything's going well with City Council, and
We believe so, yes. What would you tell me? You don't only mean
We might have just been a little bit.
anybody else wish to make any liaison reports? Okay, Jen?
So the school year is off to a terrific start at West Bristol. The students and staff have been practicing the pause code and what it means to be exceptional school citizens. They're ready to kick off the Start With Hello program, Brave, and other exciting activities to engage students in positive peer relationships. The students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grades are all excited to begin Intramurals, which actually started on Monday, and the fall sports season. Go Wolves.
Go Wolves. Okay, I don't have anything else, and so I believe a motion for adjournment is in order. Mr. O'Brien, would you like to do that?
so moved.
So moved.
Second.
And second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved.